Who's ready to make some money? Let's get into it. Hey, how you doing, guys? Derek here from M1 Realty. I'm the broker owner, founder of the company. Started in 2014, just me and a laptop up on the third floor of an office building here in Ferndale, Michigan. Today, we've got a storefront right at the main corner of Ferndale, Michigan. We're the biggest real estate company in Ferndale, and I've got an all-star team of agents. Whether you're looking to buy, sell, invest, rent, whatever you need, we've got you covered. We've set out on a mission to become a one-stop shop for investors, and I am extremely excited to make this video today because I want to talk about something that we're just rolling out. This is brand new, and I think this is, due to popular demand, going to be a very, very popular development. So let's talk about it. So it goes without saying that we're always 100% committed to helping our clients. Anything that you need real estate related, buying, selling, investing, rental services, the whole 9 yards. The beginning of the first half of this year was I've put a lot of time and effort into getting our mortgage company off the ground, and we are affiliated with some of the absolute top lenders in the world, essentially. I just closed a deal from the day my client reached out to me to said, hey, I'm interested in this property, to the day we closed was 19 days. That's with a conventional mortgage. We got through United Wholesale Mortgage in a single day. So suffice it to say, we got that part dialed in now at this point. We've got some amazing partners. So anything you need on the lending side, we've got you set up there. We've got expert service on the real estate side. And one of the areas that a lot of people have reached out to me is regarding property management, and I had kind of hesitated to do that. I've managed many properties in the past, and it's not my cup of tea personally, but I do have a lot of experience in property management, and I'm very excited to announce that we are opening M1 Property Management ASAP. Like in terms of in a number of days, we're going to have it official, up and running, ready to go, and we're here to provide that service as well for our investor clients. So when I made that announcement in our internal Facebook group for our agents here at M1, I had way more response than I was expecting from agents saying, hey, I want in on this, what can I do to help? I want to be a part of this. So, I went through a pretty rigorous, selection process, and we've got 2 of our agents that are stepping up to run the day-to-day on this, and then I'll be overseeing the department as well. So we're not going to be able to miss a beat. We're going to be able to get you financed, we're going to find you a home, we're going to close it fast, and then if you choose to utilize us, we're going to be able to manage it for you as well. So let's talk a little bit about what the management side of this process looks like. So a lot of this is pretty much common sense, but as far as property management goes, what that looks like is just making sure that we are placing responsible tenants into your properties, treating it like it's our own property, and anybody that moves in there and utilizes that home, we need to make sure, number one, that they're going to be paying rent on time, number two, that they're going to take care of that property, and then number three, that we don't run into any issues, any maintenance issues are taken care of immediately, and any issues beyond that are nipped in the bud very, very quickly. So a little bit about my track record. I think at one point I was personally managing 36 doors. That same year I sold 70 houses. So something had to give, and what had to give was property management. So I started getting myself out of that part of the business. This is probably about 5 or 6 years ago at this point. To the point now I've got 2 properties that I still manage, and we're gonna have M1 management take those over as well. But as far as that goes, I've been doing it for about 15 years. With several dozen properties. I should mention those aren't my own properties. So in addition to my own rentals, I had 36 other homes that I was managing, and I've only ever had to evict 3 people. So knock on wood, it stays that way. But we've put together a pretty rigorous screening process, because that's really the main thing. Making sure that you're very particular about who moves into your home so that you don't have any problems down the road. So let's talk a little bit about what that whole thing looks like. So when it comes to marketing your rental property, I'm assuming that it won't already be tenant occupied. Some of the ones that we've been selling to our investor clients lately have been, and that's a whole nother thing that just cuts out one step of the process. Obviously, we need to make sure that the tenant that's in that house has been paying their rent and all that. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't buy that property. But assuming that it's just a vacant house. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna come in, we're gonna get photos, videos, we're gonna post it. Online. There's a couple different platforms that we put it on. As of right now, unless our client specifies that they want this, we will not be putting the property on the MLS. And I'm gonna tell you why, because it's gonna save you money. The other reason is that it gives us a little more control over who we're showing the home to. If I put it on the MLS and an agent sets an appointment, they're gonna go show it to whoever. I've personally, in the past, 2 of the 3 people I've had to evict were because I put the house on the MLS and some other agent brought the tenant. It's just never worked out well for me. So as of right now, like I said, unless our client demands it, we're gonna go a different route, and that's just we're gonna market the property on. There's a gazillion other platforms out there, so we're gonna have that property on all of them. And then typically what we will do at that point is collect all the people that express interest in it. We're gonna respond to everybody at once, and instead of going out and showing the house, to 27 different people, 27 different times, what I typically will do, and this has worked extremely well for me over the years, is just tell everybody, hey, I'm gonna be at the house, Wednesday between 6:30 and 7:30. You're more than welcome to come by at that point in time. What I'm going to need, I'll attach our standard application. I'm going to need you to fill this out. I'm going to need a copy of a credit report. I'm going to need proof of income. In addition to that, if people do, there's certain sites where people can apply on where that site actually does all that for them. It generates a credit report and a background check, and they can apply online. If they do that, then I don't need the other stuff. But assuming that they don't apply on those platforms, that's what they're going to have to bring. I let them know that anybody that doesn't have this stuff with them won't be considered. So say we get 20 people that reach out, say, hey, I'm interested in that house, and I send out 20 responses saying, cool, just show up at this certain time, I'll be there. We'll be doing an open house. So out of those 20 people, typically we're going to get about 8 or 9 people that actually do show up at that time. Out of those 8 or 9, say 5 of them are going to have all the things that we ask them to bring. Those are the 5 that are going to be considered, and in my experience, you can pick a name out of a hat, and any of those 5 are going to be good tenants. But we're not going to stop there, because we're obviously going to do the follow-up. We're going to screen them extremely thoroughly. We're going to follow up with their current landlord. We're going to follow up with their references, and most importantly, if they don't apply on a site where it does a background check, I do have an attorney that will run background checks on people too. I'm all about giving second chances and everything like that. But certain, we need to know who's moving into a property. It's a pretty big commitment on our end, so we need to know who we're going to be getting to move in. So just to protect you, the investor. That's the way we're going to do things. Once a tenant is selected, we are going to collect a security deposit from them, and that will hold the property for 30 days max. So if they give us a deposit and then 2 weeks later decide not to move in, well, congratulations, that whole month hasn't been wasted for you, because now we have a month and a half deposit that will cover us till we get the next person in. But more than likely, once they give that deposit, they're moving in. We will prorate that first month's rent to whatever day they move in, because obviously we want them in the sooner the better, but it kind of depends on people's circumstances. But that way you got the deposit, you're going to get covered for whatever portion of that month they decide to move in, and then from then on, every month rent's going to be due on the 1st, no matter what. That's just the way we're going to have to do things, because we already have dozens of houses that we're managing just to keep things running smoothly. I know some I've had it's happened in the past, and it's never worked out well for me, where people, hey, well, can I pay like half on the 15th and half on the 30th, and can I just give you a half right now, and I'll give you the other half on the 1st, or whatever the case may be. Or I've got, almost all the rent. Can I get the rest to you in a week? In the past, I'm not gonna lie. I like to work with people. I like to help people, and I more often than not, I've just said, yeah, I'll do it, no problem. And that turned into me running around town collecting rent when I could be working with clients, and it's just doesn't work it doesn't work out that way. It doesn't work out well in my experience. But when I used to do property management, that was before the days of Venmo and Zelle and 8 million different ways to pay electronically. So we're going to encourage all of our tenants to pay electronically. There's gazillion different ways they can do that, and we're going to accommodate all of them. So we're just trying to streamline the process, make it easy for you so that all you have to do is sit back and collect a rent check every month and not have to worry about anything. And it saves us time and effort and aggravation and running around to all these different houses trying to get rent on different days of the week. Rent's due on the 1st. So let's talk about what happens if rent's due on the 1st and we don't get rent on the 1st. Well, we're going to have a stack of 7-day notice to quits, which is the beginning of the eviction process. And again, this is stepping out of my personality, but in the interest of running an efficient business that protects you, the investor, this is how we're going to do things. If we don't have rent on the 1st, on the 2nd, a 7-day notice to quit is getting mailed out. In the state of Michigan, what that says is, hey, you owe us, however much, $1,200 in rent or $1,500 in rent, whatever the monthly rent is. You owe us this amount of money, pay us within 7 days or get out. And typically you give somebody one of those and they know you're not playing around. You're going to start getting rent on the 1st, and it's just how it's going to be until the lease is up. But at any rate, that's how we're going to do it. On the 2nd, the 7-day notice goes out, assuming that we get paid, within that 7 days. That just is null and void, then we're all set. If they don't pay us, the next step is to turn that into the court. We get a summons and complaint, and we're going to have to start eviction proceedings at that point, which that's a whole nother video topic. If you have questions about how that works in the state of Michigan, just give me a call. But I do have an attorney that represents my clients in evictions. He just charges a flat fee. It's a very low flat fee, because we do most of the administrative work, getting all the paperwork in order. He shows up at court, talks to the judge, done deal, gets the people out, end of story. But I want to emphasize that is exceedingly rare. I like I said, I've only had to do that a handful of times, I think 3 times over the course of 15 years. I don't anticipate putting anybody into a house that we're going to have to evict right away. But people's circumstances change. We're going to be talking about a large number of properties. It's going to happen over the course of the time that we're doing this. But like I said, I don't anticipate that being an issue, especially the way that we're doing things now, where we're also going to use our contact management software to set reminders. It's going to send out a mass text 10 days before the 1st saying, hey, rent's due in 10 days. Just wanted to remind you. Hope you're having a great day. We're going to send another mass text out on the 5th saying, hey, rent's due in 5 days. So people are not going to have any excuse to not have their money ready. And, as far as the rent collection goes, that's our process. I think that's going to be very, very smooth. So tenant acquisition, you know how we're going to do that. Rent collection, you know how we're going to do that. So let's talk about maintenance. So in the past, I've pretty much worked just on handshake agreements with my investors. I mean, that's just how we've done things. But since it's not going to be me specifically running the day-to-day at this point, we're going to just put everything in writing. And the way that we're going to our management contract is going to read is that anything $500 or under, we're just going to have authorization to take care of it. Now, we're going to front that money, and we'll just invoice at the end of the month. When we collect rent, we send out an invoice for management fees, and any maintenance fees on top of that will go out. We are not adding a surcharge on maintenance. We are not doing any unnecessary maintenance. So, I think that's where a lot of management companies, they nickel and dime their clients, and that's why their clients don't really particularly care for property management companies. So our whole goal is to keep as much money in your pocket as possible. I know, there's when you're an investor, there's taxes, there's, capital expenses, there's closing costs when you buy the house. There's, we're trying to keep our fees as minimal as possible to keep as much money in your pocket. So we don't do nickel and dime charges. We are saving you money on the tenant acquisition. We're saving you money every step of the way that we possibly can. So, as far as maintenance goes, that's going to basically, for anything, small, like some of this stuff, some of the stuff will add up. But anything $500 or less, we're just going to take care of it. We're going to invoice at the end of the month. We'll obviously notify you that we did it as we're doing it. But then anything over and above that, we'll reach out to you. We'll get approval on it before we do it, obviously. And then we'll just go from there. So in addition to tenant acquisition, day-to-day management, rent collection, and then maintenance, we are going to be proactive about it as well. And we'll do, at the very, very minimum, monthly drive-bys of all these properties so that we can number one, make sure that the tenant is maintaining the property. Most cities that we deal with in this area, when you deal with the rental department, they will have, especially with the water department and the rental department, we'll have a form that can be filled that we would fill out for the tenant, and the tenant would obviously have to fill it out as well in some cities. But they would assume any like tickets, any blight tickets, if they're not mowing the lawn or something like that, it's not going to come back on you. It's going to go back to them. But we're going to make sure that we're working closely with all the cities that we have properties in to make sure that as much of that responsibility goes on the tenant as possible. So not every city has that. So regardless of any of that, we're going to be doing monthly drive-bys. Like, hey, the grass is getting a little bit long. Can you get out there and cut it for me? Whatever like that. We're not going to nitpick people. But if it's getting to the point where you're going to get a ticket, we're going to address it before you do. And then on top of that, we will be setting up quarterly interior inspections, but we're not going to let them know we're inspecting the interior. We're just going to say, hey, we're going to drop by and change your furnace filter for you. That gives us the ability to get inside the house, take care of that, and that way we can make sure, like, again, we're not here to nitpick people. I don't care what people do to an extent with their property. As long as when they hand the keys back over and their lease is up, it looks relatively like it did when we gave it to them. I could care less about the rest of it. Do your thing. But that's going to make sure they're not doing anything illegal in the home. That's going to make sure there's no unauthorized pets in the home. We want to make sure that that we don't have somebody that next thing you know, they have one dog, and the next time you go, there's 12. Because we have run into that before. It's only happened once. But next thing you know, when we're trying to get these people out of the house and their lease is up, there's all kinds of urine damage, and it was just a disaster. We had to gut the entire house, take all the carpet out, repaint the whole thing. Like the subfloor was a mess because they just had, all of a sudden they just were hoarding dogs, and we're just going to make sure that doesn't happen for it. So it's important in property management to kind of thread that needle between not just ignoring the property and not being overbearing with the tenant, because obviously at the end of the day, what our goal is to create as many long-term tenants as we can. And what I found in the past is, if the tenant renews their lease, they're going to be in there for years, and they're going to take care of the property better, because at that point now they have in their head, they have ownership of it. It's my house, we're going to take care of my house, things like that. That at least not everybody's like that, but the vast majority are. And what I found also works really well is right off the bat, having people sign an 18 to 24 month lease. Some people balk at a 24-month lease, but almost everybody will agree to an 18-month. And the key is keeping that property occupied, because for every day that it sits empty, that's costing you money. So we want to keep it occupied as much as we possibly can, and it's easier to accomplish that with an 18-month lease, because realistically, when people leave a house, there's always going to be a month or two turnaround time there. So they leave the house, we have to usually get it painted, we get the carpets cleaned, do a maid clean on the home, get it turned around and ready for another tenant. Takes a little bit of time, and then we have to obviously place the tenant. And I'm going to tell you right now, that I will take if it takes an extra month to get the right person in that house, that's what we're gonna do. When you rush, that's when you maybe put people in that on paper they can afford the house and they make enough money, their credit's okay, but if you don't have a really good feeling about that person and you're just putting him in the house because on paper it looks like it'll work, that's a recipe for disaster. So, and that's not what we want. That's not going to make anybody happy. So, we're going to take our time and make sure that we are putting the right tenants in there for you. And then the rest of it kind of takes care of itself. I mean, obviously there's some work involved, but it's a lot less than if we're just constantly having to stay on top of people to pay the rent, mow the lawn, getting behind on the rent, things like that. We don't want that. Neither do you. And if it takes a little bit more on the front end to get that person in there, so be it. So there's a lot more that goes into this. I could probably sit here talking for like 2 hours about property management and all the things all the minute details of what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. But suffice it to say, if you do have questions about it, reach out to me. Call or text me 586-491-5622. You can also reach me at 248-561-6155. Shoot me an email, dwerenka@m1realty.net, and or Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, you name it, I'm on it. But we'll take good care of you, and I'm super excited to be able to do this. I'm super excited that I'm not the one that has to do the day-to-day on it, because otherwise it wouldn't be happening. So, the agents that I do have in place are the two agents that I absolutely trust 100% with my own properties. So this is going to be an awesome development. We're going to be able to literally get you from pre-approval to closing to property management all in one spot. And I think everybody's going to be very, very happy about that. I'm not looking to make this my main business. It's just an ancillary service that we can provide. It's here to keep as much money in your pocket as possible, because that's the other thing with these property management companies. I haven't heard anybody rant and rave about how awesome their property management company is. It's usually the opposite. So kind of reverse engineered what people don't like about their property management company and made sure that we're not doing that. We're doing this. And hopefully we take care of all of our people and make it a very good experience. I think it will be. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. We'll be back next week with something that's more real estate related, but excited to bring this news to you, and thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great one, and appreciate it.